Revision from the urinary system, you're seeing the two kidneys, their blood supply, the ureters being the yellow tubes which move down to the bladder here, and then the urethra. When you're learning the structure of the kidney, the cells within it are called nephrons, and their function will be for filtration and excretion. Our main function of our kidneys is to filter our blood and reabsorb anything that the body will need. We have the medulla being the entire inside portion of our kidney, and the cortex being the outer portion or the shell on it to protect the medulla. When you're learning these, for example, here, what is the renal pelvis? It's really the function that you need to be aware of. The renal pelvis is these guys here, these little clusters that will actually connect the medulla down to the ureters. You'll see it written here. But the function is it's going to collect the urine from the tubules inside the medulla and pass them into the ureter. So your renal pelvis collects the urine from the tubules inside the medulla and takes it down into your ureters. We know by now it's all about how the movement happens from one portion in the system to another. So our renal pelvis, if we're looking at it from the outside, we'll take our urine from the medulla and take it into the ureters. So the ureters will take it from the kidneys down into the bladder, and the bladder will take from the ureters into the urethra, and so on. So it's the function of each of these that we need to be especially aware of. Our sphincters, our external sphincter, which is under our voluntary control, and our internal sphincter, which would be involuntarily controlled. So our urine can move down into our bladder all involuntarily, but we voluntarily control then when it escapes from the ureter. So we need to know the whole flow of this system and structure. Pardon the pun. Moving on to the function, I'm going to explain this here for you. I'm going to explain all of this as it can be a little bit overwhelming to read it. So this is how the blood will be filtered. So inside here you have afferent arterioles. The blood will enter in through the afferent arterioles, or it will arrive here. Into this cluster of cells is your glomerulus, which is inside your glomerular capsule, or also known as your Bowman's capsule, this round section here. The blood will then exit through the efferent vessels and move down along proximal convoluted tubules, which proximal meaning they're closest to the midline, and then some of the filtration will happen here. So substances like water that the body needs, different ions, glucose, salts, they'll all be reabsorbed back in to our bloodstream here. The fluid will then continue to move down through this big long loop, which is the loop of Henle, and move through and back up along through some distal convoluted tubules where more reabsorption happens from here. So it's really taken everything it needs out of that fluid, bringing it back into the blood. That's how your blood is filtered. So all the good substances that I've mentioned will move back up through this ascending straight tube, if you like, and be taken back into the blood. Any waste substances which our body doesn't want will be taken down through this descending straight tube, and that's where your urine collects. We need to know the composition of our urine, 96% water. Even after all that filtration, there's still only 4% of inorganic substances that we don't need. In this chapter, we don't have to learn the diseases and disorders. Some of them you can have a look through to see if they're contraindicated to your massage treatments.